taking a moment to welcome yourself into this time and space that you've set aside for the practice of integrating body, mind, and breath. Noticing if you need to adjust yourself and arrange yourself in some new way that's more easeful. Inviting those distractions that you might not have put aside yet to be put aside. And ultimately, close your eyes and take a gesture that feels grounding to you, whatever it might be. And begin to relax the shoulders, relax the jaw, relax the pelvis, relax the knees, the ankles. Invite the body to find a neutral, relaxed, and easy pose as we transition out of the machinations of our morning and into this sacred practice of yoga. Bringing palms together, we'll rest our chin towards our chest. Take a few breaths into the back of the neck and perhaps exhale through the mouth. We'll interlace our fingers and press the palms forward in space, reaching our palms into the center of our virtual circle. Draw the heart space back, open up the shoulder blades, rest the chin if that feels right to you. Breathing deeply into the back of the lungs. Allowing the upper spine to open to the breath. On an in-breath, the arms float up. The armpits open. We can keep the hands together or separate them as you like. Extending through the elbows and reaching through the fingers or reaching through the palms, whatever feels natural to you. Inviting the armpits to open. Inviting the shoulder blades to settle back and down. Inviting the heart space to rise. If it feels difficult to keep the spine upright, if you feel like you're falling backwards, bring a prop underneath your pelvis. Lift yourself up a little bit higher and see if you can find the assistance for that lift of your heart that makes sense to you. We're going to take the hands interlaced behind the back. Behind the head. Bending the elbows and taking some time to relax the shoulders a little bit more. On an in-breath, the elbows open even a little wider. On the out-breath, the elbows come together, chin to chest, gently rounding the upper spine. Inhale, opening up. Exhale, curling in. Moving at your own breath's pace. Curling inward and holding this rounded position, taking some time and breathing deeply here. Breathing deeply into the space between the shoulder blades, breathing into the back of the lungs. When it feels right to you, rest the elbows and wrists in your lap. We'll continue to let the head hang, rolling ear to shoulder on an in-breath and releasing chin to chest on an out-breath. Ear to shoulder on an in-breath and chin to chest on an out-breath. Resting the hands heavily on the legs, relaxed in the shoulders, relaxed in the elbows. Letting the weight of the cranium take you for a little ride, maybe from side to side. Maybe you'll choose to roll around in a full circle. Breathing deeply and exploring the neck, allowing for any natural exploration that occurs as you surrender to the weight of your cranium here. Breathing deeply and observing the sensations in the neck. The pelvis remains heavy, the leg bones heavy, the shoulders relaxed, and perhaps responding to the weight of the skull. Ultimately, we might find ourselves dropping the chin forward and interlacing hands behind the back. Perhaps we take Kali Mudra in extending the index fingers towards the earth behind us. Encouraging the shoulder blades to kiss one another behind the heart. The pelvis relaxes, the groins relax, the leg bones get heavier. Melting the space between the shoulder blades with each exhale. Maybe it feels good to gently turn the chin, subtle movement in the head or neck as it feels natural for you. Releasing the arms, we'll sweep them all the way out and up. Taking a big breath here and stretching tall. Take another moment here to adjust. Let the knees fall to some support. Bring in support under the knees. Keep the pelvis propped and invite that ease in the spine. Breathing deeply, extending upward as we relax everything from the waist down. We float the heart and extend open through the shoulders, the armpits, breathing open. Exhaling the right hand towards the side. Find a perch with your right fingertips and take some time to explore a stretch through the left side body. The left knee dropping, the left sit bone super heavy, left foot heavy. Breathing deeply into that left side body, you might choose to move the left arm around. You might choose to keep it still. Whatever feels exactly right to you. Opening left side body to the breath. Breathing into the left lung. Breathing into the left hip as the left knee falls. Pressing off of the right hand, coming up and over, and finding your way into the right side of the body. Using that left hand as a perch, avoiding collapse in your left shoulder, and exploring that right arm, right side body, right shoulder. Breathing deeply, exactly as it feels right to you. Heavy right knee, heavy right shoulder. I'm sorry, right hip. And continuing to explore that right shoulder until it feels natural to come back up. And let's take a little twist. We're going to rotate towards the right. The left hand falls towards the right knee. Again, relax the pelvis, relax the groins, let the leg bones drop. Invite the heart space to rise up with the support of the right hand, those right fingertips, finding a perch just outside of the right hip and inviting even more space from crown to tail. Checking in with the neck. It might feel nice to turn the chin from shoulder to shoulder. It might feel nice to settle the chin towards the front shoulder. On an in-breath, taking the arms overhead and taking your time. Maybe it feels right to hang out here for a couple of breaths. Whenever you're ready, exhaling to twist in the opposite direction. The right hand coming towards the left knee, inviting the right shoulder forward, inviting some movement in the neck, the chin, reaching from shoulder to shoulder, inviting more space, the left fingertips, a point of leverage to assist the alignment of the spine. Breathing deeply, inhaling to elongate, exhaling to rotate. When it feels complete for you coming back, let's just keep the arms relaxed and allow ourselves to unwind. Rest our palms at our knees. Allow the shoulders to gently roll, whether they want to move subtly or not so subtly. Move the shoulders as they want, as you find a little movement back toward a neutral spine after that twist. And continue to move the spine into a transition toward cat-cow. Just allow those subtle movements of the spine to ultimately find a wave, an undulation forward and back with the breath. And maybe you'll feel inclined to transition ultimately onto your hands and knees. And maybe you will enjoy staying seated. Working with some cat-cow movement. If you're seated, you'll use your hands against your knees to assist the movement of the spine, allowing for that bit of action between the hands and the knees. If you're on your hands and knees, you'll activate into the earth, pressing even more strongly into your fingers as you exhale. And maybe tucking your toes as you inhale, letting the weight of the hips perhaps fall a little bit into your feet. Inhaling and exhaling. Moving with the breath here. We can keep rolling through the spine from crown to tail, and we can keep inviting some variations of movement that might feel natural to you. Rolling the hips, even forward and back, side to side, around in circles. Whatever feels good to you, allowing for this cat-cow motion to be a springboard into your own personal exploration of the spine in this moment. It might ultimately invite an extension of a leg away from the center here and there. And I invite you to just play with what happens naturally for you here for a few breaths. And then you might find your way into an extension of the right leg away from the body. If you're seated, you can do the same thing. Just simply bring your pelvis a little bit closer to the front of your seat and stretch the right leg out to the side. And then with the right arm reaching open, we can take a little twist rotating towards the right. If you're seated, the left arm can be resting to the inside of your left knee, and you can rotate open towards the right in that seated position. Great. So working with a twisted gait, essentially. The heavy right leg is directly falling to the earth, out to the side of your left knee. And the right arm is stretching straight up to the sky, keeping a sense of space in the left shoulder. You might choose to drop the right arm behind the back, or you might choose to circle the right arm around. All the while, the right leg falling heavily to the earth, heavy right foot. My heart space is rotating towards my right toes, which are facing forward. The right foot is flat to the earth. Take your time here in this twisted gait. Make your way into any variations of this pose that come naturally to you here. So working from your own place of body wisdom and whatever is comfortable and natural for you. Take your time now to just play a little bit. Find the freedom of integration in body, mind, and breath. Just be. Keep breathing, and when it feels right to you, take yourself to the other side. So find your way into your twisted gait, rotating towards an extended left leg. The left arm high, the right hand either at the floor, or if you're seated, that right arm is resting to the inside of the right knee as a point of leverage from which to open. Maybe the left arm is moving around. Maybe it's falling behind you like a wet noodle. Check in with that neck. Give yourself permission to just allow any variations of this pose that now want to move through you, perhaps. And don't worry about it being the same thing that you did on the other side. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Let go of it being equanimous or even. It can just be whatever it needs to be in this moment. And let's all meet up in an Ustrasana pose, a camel pose. So we can take ourselves up onto our knees if that's something we're comfortable working with. If we're choosing to stay seated, we're going to place our hands right underneath our sit bones and draw our elbows and shoulders back. So however we're choosing to explore Ustrasana, we may even use props, which I usually have at hand. Here we go. If you have a block or two, you could take advantage of it right here at your side as a point of leverage. So you might play with the height. Remember, my arms are freakishly long. So just fingertips resting on the top of the blocks, and then allowing yourself to lift up from that space, keeping the pelvis hovering over the knees, or perhaps even a sense that you're directing the pelvis forward in space rather than having yourself pull back. That's where we can strain our knees or our quadriceps. We want to keep the pelvis right up over the knees and make this up about lifting the heart space away from the knees and away from the tailbone. Beautiful. Keep the chin resting at the notch at the base of the throat and allow for any variations once again that come naturally to you. You may find yourself reaching back for ankles if that's something that's natural for you. Any variations reaching up with one arm perhaps as you support with the other hand. Palms at the heart. Working and with this intention of continuing to open Anahata chakra to the breath, to fill Anahata with prana, bringing in that life force, filling your coffers with life force, and ultimately finding a stretch, some variation of a downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, that feels right to you. Maybe hands on the floor, maybe knees stay on the floor, maybe you'll come to stand and put hands at the wall or at a countertop. Finding a downward facing dog stretch that makes sense to you. So again, if you're not comfortable with your hands at the mat, you might find yourself instead taking yourself to a wall where you can open up the spine without any fear of discomfort in the wrists. Taking your time, we're all going to meet in a standing forward fold. So take your time to walk your feet towards your hands or get yourself otherwise into a standing forward fold. Give yourself a big hug. Congratulate yourself for arriving the standing portion of our practice. Activate your feet, wiggle your toes around, and make sure that they're making strong contact with the earth. Keep the knees bent a lot and rest your belly onto your thighs. Wrap your arms around the backs of your knees and drop the skull a little more heavily. As you push into your big toes, pull your belly button towards the back of the spine and feel the drop of the skull a little more. Maybe it feels natural for you to explore other binds here, like interlacing hands behind the back, taking Kali Mudra, extending index fingers towards the ceiling. Again, knees are bent a lot here. Belly is resting on thighs. We're pushing into the floor with our feet and we're releasing the shoulders, letting the arms come away from the body. On an exhale, releasing the hands towards the earth. Let's keep the feet, the hands on the floor, or take your blocks if you have them and place your hands on blocks. Separate your feet a little bit here. Make your stance maybe even as wide as your mat. And then we're going to lower the pelvis and bend the knees, pulling the heart space forward and drawing the tail back. So my hands are on blocks, fingertips on blocks. And this way I can bend my knees and start to extend the spine. So we're finding that flat back position, but we're also dropping into our hips here. On the exhale, we're going to drop the head and just allow the pelvis to float to whatever degree comes naturally. Inhale, bend the knees. Use the block to help support the heart space coming forward, the shoulders pulling back. Exhale, drop the head, float the tail. So my feet are remaining flat and my toes are forward, my heels are back. Inhaling to bend the knees, exhaling to drop the skull and float the tail. A few more breaths here. Really working gently into the hips, activating strongly into the feet. We're not expecting straight legs ever. Let's hang down over our legs. Just drop it out like rag dolls again for a few breaths. Shake out the head. Use your hands against your blocks or the earth and toe heel the feet back together a little closer, but keep some distance between the feet, a natural, neutral position for your feet, few inches. And we're going to roll up on an in-breath, pressing into your feet, big toes rooting down, arms and head dangling. We're pulling belly button up, and we're rounding the spine, articulating with curiosity and compassion as we roll up slowly and take ourselves to a standing Utthita Tadasana. We're going to keep the ball rolling here now. Swan diving forward, exhaling. Hugging the legs, bending the knees, inhaling, finding your flat back position, exhaling, releasing down, and inhaling to roll up slowly, arms ultimately coming overhead, exhaling, swan diving forward. Give yourself a hug. Inhale, flat back position, drawing the heart forward. Exhale, releasing down. And inhale, rolling up slowly. So please feel free to continue with this variation of a salutation. And if you're feeling like you're ready to move into some more of a moon salutation or something else with lunges, I'll invite you to follow me here. We'll exhale, folding forward. Inhale, finding a flat back, and exhale, step back to your down dog. And let's stretch the right leg away in a three-legged dog, and then exhale, swing the right foot forward onto your mat. Inhale, rising up, warrior one. Exhale, opening warrior two, and inhale, reversing the warrior. Exhaling, we'll stretch our way back to our downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg stretching long. Exhale, swinging through. Inhale, rising warrior one. Exhale, opening warrior two. Inhale to reverse, and exhale, stretching back. Downward facing dog. Taking your time here, so you're continuing to move in this simple just sequence of movements with the breath. Just let yourself flow. You can stay with this, or you can come back to that first salutation. We just stayed on 2 feet. We worked with our flat back position. Allowing yourself to move in a repetitive sequence, however it works for your body here. Flowing with the breath. So I'm going to invite you to just keep moving. That's the important part here. Just keep moving and encouraging the heart to beat, the body to be active. Just a few more breaths. When it feels complete for you, take yourself to a downward facing dog and find 5 giant breaths in your downward dog to complete your salutations. When it feels complete for you, resting in a supported child pose. That can be dropping to your knees with support or coming to a seated position at a chair or on a couch where your feet are flat on the earth. So feel free to drop now into a rounded spine over your legs, however that feels right to you in this moment for your body. Breathing deeply, dropping into a child pose. Let's invite the breath to deepen and the exhale to fall from the mouth. As you continue to exhale through the mouth, let the head rest even more heavily and perhaps even rotate, turning the head gently on your block. We can slowly begin to rise up out of our child pose and make our way carefully back toward a standing position. Moving at your own pace now in whatever path your body desires to take. So we'll take just a few standing poses today. We're going to focus on the warrior poses 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to start by standing at the front of the mat with our hands at our hips and our gaze forward. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to make your way to a standing position where you're taking weight in your right foot. And you're going to invite the left toes maybe to rest, just the tippy toes onto the floor. Or if you're more comfortable, even bringing the knee up or even placing the foot at Vriksasana on the inside of the right leg, if that's something that you're interested in working with here. So standing on the right leg, finding balance on the right leg. The hands can be at the hips or any other place they organically find themselves. And we're going to ultimately transition from this standing balance to our warrior 1 by placing mindfully the left foot behind us, dropping the left heel to the inside as we release it towards the earth. So here we'll take a moment, our hands might come to the hips if they aren't there already, and we can encourage that that left hip to melt forward. We notice whether the pelvis is neutral because the elbows tell the story when the hands are at the hips. The right knee is bending and the knee is stacked over the right ankle, and there's equal energy reaching down into the earth between both legs. Both feet are equally pressing into the earth. So remind yourself that you have toes to activate. Take the arms overhead and find your way into whatever becomes the fullest expression of Warrior One for you in this moment, however that feels exactly right to you. On an exhale, we're going to rotate open to Warrior Two, drawing the left side body back, reaching the arms across. The left side of the pelvis pulls back and drops down. We open the left toes and we take some real effort to find a new sense of neutral in the pelvis, resting the weight of the tailbone straight to the earth. Breathing deeply here. Pressing into the earth once again, equally with both feet. Reaching out through the arms for strength and stability. Breathing deeply. Nice work. Bring your hands to your pelvis again. We're rotating around like a steering wheel. We're going to push off of the back foot and carefully bring ourselves forward into the right foot. All right, I need to adjust myself in my space. So make sure that you can now safely come forward, bringing your weight into your right big toe. I'm going to invite you to keep your left toes on the floor behind you for a moment and think about reaching through that leg. Activate through that leg. Remember what it feels like to have a long back leg. And then start to lift the leg behind you with that same action, pushing through the heel and reaching the toes towards the floor. The arms can remain at your waist, at your hips, if that feels helpful. You could open the arms out like airplane wings. You could reach the arms forward in space if you'd like. Pushing the left heel away and reaching the arms out in whatever direction they are extending. Ultimately, we're going to bring the left knee back in and give it a big hug. Pull the left knee into your chest. Take some time to release the low back. Let the tailbone drop here. You might feel the urge to find another standing pose on the right leg, bringing the left foot back to Vinyasa or even into eagle pose here. Releasing slowly and letting everything go. Take some time to shake it out gently. Let the body move. Release some sound with your breath. Take a moment to hydrate, perhaps. All right. Let's make our way to the other side now. We'll come back to stand at the front of the mat. We'll bring our hands to our hips. We'll activate into that left foot and begin to find our way into a standing pose on the left leg, which is going to feel like a relief right now. I don't know about you, my right hip feels super tired. So taking a moment to activate and find that standing pose on the left foot, whatever it might be. Maybe it's Vinyasa, maybe you're just holding the right knee. Maybe the right tippy toes are on the floor. And as you find that sense of ground and neutral and balance, go ahead and take yourself back into Warrior One now, placing the right heel down on an angle behind you on the right side of the mat. So with our hands at our hips, we notice the elbows, and if the right elbow is behind the left elbow, that means that you might be able to separate your feet laterally and allow the right hip to melt forward even more easily. Really access that psoas and hip flexor. Taking your time to root even more strongly down into the earth with both feet. Find your way into whatever becomes the fullest expression of your Warrior One pose today. Exhaling to Warrior Two. Finding your way to dropping the right side of the pelvis, dropping the weight of the tailbone, extending out through the arms, rooting down into the earth through the feet. Breathing deeply here, extending open across the arms, active through the fingers, laser beams through the fingertips. And go ahead and slowly release the hands to the hips. Bring yourself around slowly to face the left foot again. Find your way into the left foot. Reach through the right heel. Start to flex the right heel away from the body as you lift it into Warrior One. The right toes are flexing towards the floor. The hands are at the hips. Maybe the hands are extending out like airplane wings. Maybe they're reaching back in the same direction as the back heel, or forward, up and away. Find whatever feels like a happy exploration of Warrior Three for you. And when you're ready, carefully bringing yourself back into that balanced position. Gathering the right knee to your chest, maybe transitioning to a second balance pose if that happens for you organically. Maybe you need to take a break in between. Honor your body wisdom. If you're working with eagle, remember we're pulling everything in towards the midline. Equal and opposite energies in any balance pose, wherever you find yourself, will be the equation for balance, for grace, for ease. Releasing from your balancing pose, falling out of balance, letting it go. Shaking it out, releasing it. So I invite you to just take whatever movement your body is asking you to do in a standing position in this moment. Maybe it's a non-movement, maybe it's a yoga pose, maybe it's more shaking it out, maybe it's a down dog at the wall. And ultimately now we're going to be moving towards a surrender. So start to imagine yourself in open heart lotus and begin to gather the things you're going to need as you prepare yourself to just fall into stillness in a supported fish pose or Matsyasana, or what we like to call open heart lotus. So taking some time now to set yourself up, we'll move into some deep surrender. Let's get to the nervous system balancing and harmonizing, shall we? So we're going to want to work with some blocks. To collect our knees, we're going to surrender the spine over some variation of a prop that is supportive to your spine. It could be a rolled up blanket, it could be a pillow from a couch. The idea is that the head and neck are equally supported, so we're not dropping the head back. You'll see my head and neck are completely supported along with the rest of the spine. And then the knees are supported, the soles of the feet are touching, the arms can fall open. Let the elbows and the wrists start to move away from the body until you feel just a little sense of expansion across the front of the shoulders, the pectoral muscles. You feel a little adjustment in the way the invitation to expansion. I'm gonna ring my bowls and invite you to drop even more heavily into this moment of surrender, taking advantage of the fatigue that was built in the muscles through our standing poses, and inviting that surrender that the fatigue is asking for. Breathing even more deeply here. With each exhale, the bones fall even more heavily, perfectly supported. Deep oceanic breathing. Taking 3 more breaths here. Perhaps you'll find a natural urge to exhale through the mouth, maybe even force a yawn. Let out some sound. Release that jaw. Bringing yourself back into some subtle movement. You can make your way into a rounded position to your side, pressing into your hands and coming to sit carefully. We'll all choose a seated forward fold that suits whatever your body is calling for right now. Some of us are going to be inclined to extend our legs straight forward in Paschimottanasana. Some of us are going to be interested in having the knees bent or even extending open in a straddle position. So honoring your body wisdom and allowing for whatever feels right to you, taking some time and stretching in a forward fold of your choice. Working with your props, I definitely recommend using support under the skull, however you choose to arrange the legs. The knees might also appreciate some support. I'm building a little ramp with my blocks and my bolster to collect my body coming forward. Breathing deeply. In whatever variation of a forward fold your body is inclined to explore today. Breathing deeply into the back side of the body, observing how the breath is moving into the back of the legs, into the back of the spine, the back of the lungs, into the low back, maybe even into the back of the neck, even into the cranium. Let's make our way slowly and carefully up and out of our forward fold. And here I'm going to invite us to transition into a little bit more hip work. And this can be, of course, designed for your own comfort. So I'm going to give you 3 options for your hip release. One would be working with pigeon pose, Kapotasana. So if that's your fave, you can start to move into that. Another would be to work in a seated position from some variation of Shirsasana, bending the right knee first, supporting that knee, and working with variations of stretches from that position. And finally, you could come onto your back and cross the right ankle onto your left knee. So either of those 3 different variations of hip openers, please just let yourself fall into it, whatever is natural and right to you in your body in this moment. Maybe one variation is appropriate for one hip and another variation is appropriate for the other hip. So allow yourself to be open to all possibilities. Moving into the right hip with curiosity and compassion. Breathing deeply, supporting yourself with props as it feels natural and right to you. Deep oceanic breathing. Asking yourself one simple question with each exhale. How can I let go even more? Taking your time and honoring your body wisdom, transitioning to work with the other hip at your own pace. And in whatever variation the left hip is requesting attention today. Maybe that will be a different form than the right hip. Breathing deeply here, working with the left hip, bending the left knee and externally rotating it, rolling it away from the body in whatever form that feels satisfying for you. Continuing to observe the map of your breath. We'll slowly find our way through our exploration of the left hip, and we'll encourage ourselves into a completely relaxed position on our backs, drawing our knees in towards our chest, and perhaps ultimately opening into happy baby. Working with both hips now, releasing the tailbone to the earth, releasing the weight of the skull, releasing the shoulders away from the ears. Releasing yourself from the form of happy baby and allowing for any variation of motion or shape that feels completely right to you in this moment. Think less, breathe more. Inviting the fullness of your breath into the abdominal cavity, and with each exhale, inviting the belly button to fall toward the back of the heart. Rinsing the abdominal organs with each exhale and that compression of the abdominal wall towards the back of the body. Holding yourself tenderly and working with this surrender in the hips for as long as it feels satisfying for you. When it feels complete, inviting some neutrality, let's bring the soles of the feet towards the earth slowly. Perhaps it makes sense to place a prop like a block between your knees, maybe just a folded pillow. Give that prop a squeeze with the knees. That might be something you repeat a couple of times. You might here like to shift into an inversion. You might like to work with the block between the knees and take a couple of breaths in a abdominal strengthening pose where we squeeze the block and press the heels towards the earth while maintaining neutral in the pelvis. Just the subtlest sense of lift in the tailbone occurs. We have options here to work with in an inverted state, listening to your body wisdom. We may feel it natural to transition now ultimately to a final twist, moving through Apanasana with the left leg long and the right knee bent towards the body. Shifting the right knee around in space. Ultimately, it can shift all the way across towards the left side of the mat. Working with these final movements in your own natural neutralizing of the spine, coming back through and twisting in the other direction when you're ready. Right leg long and heavy, left knee finding its place ultimately towards the right side of the mat. Working with your twist in any way that feels natural to you, and ultimately melting your way back on an exhale. Guiding knees to chest, perhaps taking any other gentle movements that feel exactly right to you as you transition to your pose of Shavasana, our final resting pose. We can allow the body to drop into a state of stillness. Some of us are happy to place our legs up onto a prop like a couch or an ottoman or a chair or whatever might be nearby. You might like to swaddle your knees up, wrap them up with a blanket or a towel or a scarf or a strap. Allowing the arms to fall in a natural position at your sides, the palms rolling open. I like to weight my pelvis. That feels grounding for me. Giving yourself whatever your body is requesting in this moment as you prepare for full surrender to receive the benefit of your yoga practice, this integration of body, mind, and breath. Perhaps you're feeling ready to transition. Perhaps you'd prefer to stay in Shavasana. Perhaps you're feeling like coming to sit and meditating for a few minutes, allowing for whatever is natural for you. May the long-time sun shine upon you. May all love surround you. And may the pure light within guide you all the way on. Namaste. Namaste.